feel the feeling I feel when I'm living my life for what's real. Make America healthy, feeling like it's time for a change. We're going back to common sense, making America healthy again. We're going back to common sense, making America healthy again. We're going back up healthy again.
Gentlemen,
What's going on there, sirs?
we're back.
Howdy, Rowdy.
Wednesday, June 18th, Kyle Kemper, Billy Zero, Johnny Paradise in the house. Another week with no Ian or Dustin, and that's okay.
So maybe we got to put a call out there to people that, like, we need a new video intro. I don't think Dustin's coming back. He's tinfoiled and tokened up. Ian, we're still tugging. We're still like, hey man, you're done with Canada, but he's now trying to upgrade his whole thing. So maybe it's
Yeah,
us.
well, and Ian's really right now. He's kind of he's one of, like, a leading voice in the world in opposition towards these war efforts. He's part of an elite few very large voices. I mean, there's a lot of people who are decidedly against war, but certainly, I mean, I've been watching him and Candace, and they're quite the little duo. They're a cute little couple.
Yeah, they're great, man. The conversation is great. It's been good to watch.
Yeah, I got to call out the nonsense, man. He's been doing that real well for a good bit now. So yeah, good for him.
Yeah, and some might kind of view him as a chaos agent, but I don't think so. I think he's just telling it like it is, and people are like, he's Qatari funded. Like, Qatari? Since when is Qatar funding? This is crazy. Do you know anybody in Qatar, Billy?
No.
It's like, where's the Qatar money flowing from? It seems very, very silly.
I don't know. I play drums.
That's what I was thinking too. You say that like that. I think I learned no matter how you try to pronounce Qatar, you're not doing it right.
Qatar?
Cutter.
Exactly.
Cutter?
Yeah.
I don't think we got all the phonics for it.
All right, so what do we have on in the show for tonight, guys? We're gonna delve a little bit into Catherine Austin Fitts. We're going to delve a little bit into what was the next topic you wanted to kind of discuss there, Johnny?
Oh, they're coming for our liability shields. They're coming for our constitutional rights. So in North Carolina, they're putting big pressure on the representatives up there. So we're just trying to get the word out. If you know anybody in North Carolina, tell them, hey, maybe they want you to call for them on their behalf and get the word in there. Like they're going after a license to kill, right? So, these pesticides, just like the vaccines have a liability shield, they're doing this. They're looking for this for EMF and AI and these pesticides. And these pesticides, after the mRNA bioweapon, these are the main culprit taking us out. So this is so important that we get the word out. They're going state by state trying to get these. So got to stop that.
So we're going to talk about some GMO. We're going to talk about, we'll probably touch on a little bit of the headlines. Can Maha stop World War III? Can the voices, can our collective coalition, which was decidedly anti-war, pro-America, pro-health, pro-world, making Earth great again? I don't think we make Earth great again through nuclear standoffs and more war and depleted uranium and missiles and funneling more money into the military industrial complex for funding death and destruction. It just doesn't seem very Maha to me. So, my mission, my ask to the general community is stand up, question war at all costs. And I'm sure a lot of people have been having discussions around, what's going on. It seems like President Trump is doing some awful large posturing right now. And, you know, there's a bunch of gleeful war hawks out there. The question really is, will it translate into a war, or could all of this posturing, all this energy, like the threat of America's military, the greatest, most powerful military on the earth, you know, be enough to trigger something? I mean, he said, what was the thing? Unconditional surrender was a tweet he said the other day. I just don't see how, like, that seems like an unlikely outcome from Iran, or maybe was that geared at Israel?
I don't know, but like, I have hope that, you know, he doesn't like war. Like, he didn't have war during his first term, and hopefully the posturing works. Sometimes it doesn't work, and with what's going on now, you never know if it's going to work. But the hope is that, that posturing works. That's the plan.
Yeah, just know when to hold them and know when to fold them. Iran, it'd be a really good time to just kind of fold them and, like, you know, take that back channel deal. Let's just take that deal, and then, you know, in this whole process too, one of the nice things is a lot of the, you know, the pro-war figures and a lot of the, you know, the war champions we're in like this max propaganda cycle right now, so it's kind of very evident, like, you know, who some of the major, you know, war promoters are. And we saw, like, Tucker's gone viral for kind of that interview. Did you guys see the interview with Ted Cruz?
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. I just saw the little intro for it. Did it drop already, the big one?
I think the big one has. I'm not sure if I think it was supposed to drop today, but I know, like, yeah, that little intro was going hard, and I see Ted Cruz is on the defensive. And I mean, to be honest, like, it's that tact when you're interviewing somebody of, like, you know, challenging them on a question, like holding them to that question. It's a tough question. It's not the fairest, you know, move. It definitely makes you look kind of foolish. Billy, what's the population of Canada?
I have no clue. You live there.
What, you don't know?
30
you
million.
don't know the population of America's #1 trading partner?
No.
Are we talking moose or people?
I'm still stuck on Brigitte Macron as a man. That's hilarious.
Oh God,
That's just cracks me up. Really, it's quite funny.
Well, and
Speaking of Candace,
yeah, that scene, the plane scene too, of her palming Macron. Oh gosh.
And Joe Rogan watching her sit down, or him, I don't know. And he sits down with his legs wide open. He's like, "That's a man sitting down, dude. That's a man."
That's a man.
And when you go look at it, you're like, out of all the women that I know, none of them sit down like that, like, ever. Like, they always sit down and, like, you know, like I don't know, like a woman does, like, just like, you know, not with their legs spread wide open.
oh my gosh, it doesn't
How
seem
many people are in
possible.
Canada?
does it?
30 million?
Exactly. You don't even know.
30 million moose. We're not talking about
don't even
people,
know.
are we?
40 million, and with a stated goal to be 100 million by the end of the century.
Good for them. Their population's not on the decline like so many of us.
Well, our population, like, is on the decline if it weren't supported by very, very aggressive immigration targets, of like, you know, of replacing that declining population with you know, with a large number of immigrants.
That's
I don't know about you guys, but one of the big things in my feed lately has been young doctors and PhDs that are just, like, spitting out this false information that these vaccines have no issues, that these new cancer drugs that are coming out that are mRNA are going to change the planet. I don't know if you've seen any of that, but
Who are these people? These are young doctors. Are these
Like,
names we would recognize?
seeing these, I always say what Eisenhower warned us about, these scientific elite, and there's these, they're just young. Like they've gone to school and they've spent 8 to 12 years at school, and they get out and they're just operating on a level of moral high ground that is just absurd. Like everybody bow beneath me. Like, I'm here to tell you, and then you can go search doctors like telling people they need to get the vaccine, and like what's going on in Massachusetts. They want to remove religious exemption and pass this community immunity bill where even if you do have a medical exemption, parents have to jump through hoops every year for each of their kids. So if you have 2 or 3 kids, every year you got to go back and go through the whole process again. So they're just coming at it harder and harder. And when you hear them, like I sat there and watched the 7 hours of testimony for Massachusetts because I was helping them with the video editing and some of the other stuff that they're doing. And that's with Health Action Mass, healthactionma.org. Amazing things going on there.
And we had Allison on 2 weeks ago. So how did it go?
It's good. Right now, basically, it's leaving one committee. This committee is going to vote. So right now we have, I think, like 50 days left before it heads to the second committee or gets killed. If it makes it to this next committee, I mean, it's going to pass, right? So it makes it to this next committee. That committee will put it to the floor because it's democratic in nature. So they've got a majority. So if it gets to this next committee, it's going to the floor. If it gets to the floor, it's passing. So you're going to have like basically 5 bills going right against religious exemption in Massachusetts. So we'll be covering that quite in detail this next couple of weeks as we have some pretty big initiatives across the country and across the state to call everybody together to do their part to help here, because it's just a slippery slope. This stuff is very slippery. They're sliding it into budget bills to try to pass parts of it, even if it doesn't get passed in the House and Senate bills. They're just getting trickier. And in those hearings, you'd have these doctors that look 26, basically outlining, like with their moral high ground, that we need to remove religious exemption because this is like, these people we're not gonna hit herd immunity, and it's just quite sad. No evidence-based stuff. It's all just manipulation. And even AI, we'll get to some AI stuff. You search AI, even Grok, which I was hoping would be trained on good stuff. You ask stuff and it's going down the path of what Bill Gates is saying, which is, we want AI doctors. You're not going to need
and it's flooded too. Like the challenge is like, the data set. Like if you really challenge the AI, it will admit like it has like, kind of a leftist bias because the vast majority of the sources of the data that it's trained on are coming from skewed information, let's say, or conditioned, cultured information.
It's overpowering the data set, like a Coca-Cola and Pepsi and Mountain Dew. When you walk into the 7-Eleven 30 years ago, you'd have like 2 freezers of 2 refrigerators of sodas. Now you walk in there, It's like, well, this is ridiculous. There's like 100 different sodas in there, and like 30 of them are Pepsi, 30 of them are Coke, 15 of them are Mountain Dew. It's overloaded. Like your kid's going to end up getting. My kids don't drink that stuff.
It's not like a whole vending machine of just Coke. Like, wow.
17 different Coke products. You go into Five Guys, it's like, wow, is there that many Coke products to get? We don't drink any of that. I feel bad for the waiters and waitresses when we go out. Like our whole table orders water. Sorry, we're not ordering $4 drinks.
They've mastered this, haven't they? They get they all echo each other. It's this mockingbird media, right? And it's all the same thing, like you're saying. It's all just like the soda. It's corn syrup and nonsense. And man, I want to go back to what you were saying though, Billy, about this moral high ground, because doctors, I think we have this idea that doctors are noble, and I think what it is that we want doctors to be noble. We need doctors to be noble, but when they're not, and they're doing what they're doing, when they're laying down our lives for profits of big pharma, for these bioweapon profiteers. I mean, 600,000 Americans are probably gone, per VAERS reports. just from the vaccine, the COVID vaccine. So this is crazy. He makes such a great point. And it is that hubris that is really something, I think this is part of the power of propaganda. It's like the assumptions that the news anchors have when they're presenting the news. I think that it's really persuasive to people, things that are left unsaid, it's just how confident it comes across. And it's just, it's like you said, we're drowning in the propaganda, aren't we?
Yeah. And I mean, having access to good doctors as well. It depends to what you're needing, because like the traditional like method of like taking like you've got a sick child, okay, like going in to see the doctor. I mean, being in Canada, it's like I'd go in and see our little GP, and it's quite the production. And sometimes there are no like tests or things that are looking, and oftentimes, I feel like with telemedicine right now, like we've been blessed that I've been able to just call Tommy Redwood, Lynn Redwood's husband, who's a ER doctor, and like with when anything kind of happens around, he happily answers, and like within 2 minutes, like there's like, hey, how are you? There's also like, here's a question, like, oh yeah, there's like sort of done, like, okay, wow, like reassuring, there's an answer. Or if it's like if it's something more serious, like, okay, here's the next things to do, but here's a little bit of advice. Like, can we not leverage technology to increase the throughput of access to good doctors and build out some of our own networks? And if it is something where you need to you need to go into a doctor's office or an urgent care or an ER, then it's set up and effective and efficient.
It's scary for a lot of people in the Maha space. There's someone that I know that had a home birth and it went bad, and they went in and they had to get blood. And could that be COVID blood? Could that be could there be something wrong there? There's a whole slew of things, and on top of that, like even down to my veterinarian, you go in there like, and they just want to poke, prod, and before you know it, it's $1,000. And my friends that have done that, I stop it all. They got a bump. Oh, we need to biopsy that. Wait, spend $300 to biopsy something when my dog, it's known that they have lumps and bumps on the outside for their breed, and they're all basically benign.
Well, and it's like biopsy involves like cutting in, taking a sample, like creating a lesion, like there's a healing, there's an opportunity for infection.
Yeah. And by the way, when I said home birth, it went bad, there was a complication. It didn't go bad. It was, I don't want to, because home births we should be doing that. Like more people should give home.
We had a home birth. It was our last birth was the most sacred, the most beautiful, with with two very attentive, very skilled midwives. They have plans. There's a lot of the complications they can kind of deal with, but also in case of emergency, they have a plan for that as well. But most of the times, entering like that sacred art or that sacred moment of conception and creation and passing into going through the portal, it's not something that's meant to happen in a sterile, blue lit, fluorescent,
with beeps
plastic,
and stuff.
horrible, loud,
those beeps are so terrible.
Scary, authoritarian, Los Reglas, dealing with people that are literally next door, they're potentially dealing with someone who's extraordinarily sick, and here next you're going to be birthing a beautiful baby into the world. Back in the day, remember they used to take the babies, they put them all in the room. Oh yeah, here, let's take the baby, let's go put it in the room for a couple minutes. Mental.
Yeah.
All right, let's watch this clip of Catherine Austin Fitz. I'm curious to hear what she says. She is, quite the legend.
Yeah, I saw this, Kyle. Let me set it up a little bit. I saw this and I was like, I kept thinking about it. I'm like, I got to go clip that because I had never heard this laid out. Like she's going to lay this out right here.
And hold on, I'm having trouble finding. Oh, there we go. All right. Stage is set.
Well, look at the Great Poisoning. I mean, we have the US government systematically poisoning and killing the population. The COVID pandemic was a mass atrocity. You've killed or disabled millions of Americans intentionally. The president of the largest pension fund in the country described it to me in 1997. He said, they've given up on the country. They're moving all the money out starting in the fall. So a concerted effort was made to put the government and the retirement system on a sound financial basis. It didn't work. They decided, okay, we're just going to start pulling money out. That's when the financial coup started. And that is when decisions started to be made that systematically lowered life expectancy. It's a formula. You have retirement funds. If you won't fund them, and the political wheel made it very clear in 1995, we refuse to fund them. You only have another way to balance the budget, and that's to lower life expectancy. If you look at the charts, literally from when that budget deal busted, life expectancy started to fall. So here are the other 19 industrial countries, and here's the US, and it starts to go down, 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 and then the pandemic, it drops off the cliff. And the latest reports from Social Security is it's working. Social Security has improved. It's a formula.
Right.
And if the body politic refuses to do the financially responsible thing, then you got two choices, and you can't get there by delaying the retirement age. That won't work politically. So you just poison the pop. You just put them on a slow kill. And that's what's happened. And you can say, oh, the bankers are bad guys. But if you saw the confirmation hearings for Kennedy's appointment, I mean, what you saw were scores of senators refusing to take responsibility for a chronic epidemic among our children, which is an extinction level event. That was not the banker sitting in the city of London. That was senators sitting in Washington refusing to take responsibility. It's one thing to say to Kennedy, we don't like your plan to end the chronic epidemic, of illness among our children. Here's a better plan. But they wouldn't own it. They just want to say, no. It was, that is a society that will fail.
That's it. Yeah, maybe a little long, but man, she's making a point I haven't heard laid out like that, they quit funding our Social Security, and here we go. They're, our longevity's going off a cliff, and whether that's the food, the medicine, that's exactly what's happening. And we got to stand up and say enough is enough. And, she makes a great point at the end that they're just not taking it, to heart. They're not even admitting that we got a problem. The first step to addressing a problem is admitting that you have one, and we got a big problem, and Kennedy's the only one talking about this chronic disease is taking us out, and we really got to keep ringing the bell about it. So
did I mention this on the show? I've talked about it to several people, I just can't remember, but that episode, I watched the whole thing and watched part of it again. I'm fascinated with her. I've been watching her for 15 years. I never subscribed to the Solari Report. I probably should have. But she's one of the reasons why I got into gold and silver as early as I did, and use that as my wealth building over the years, and stack that in the bad times, and then in the good times, and then when I needed it, I was able to sell large amounts of that and carry through. But in that, kind of what she's saying there, she's alluding to, there is an evil manipulation of the world. And in that episode, I think it's after that, she outlines that she believes there's interdimensional energies or beings that have kind of taken control. I will tell you that if you told me that in 2014 and I heard her say that, I would have probably thought she was nuts and crazy. But being a human who's done ayahuasca now 6 times and has connected to source energy and went to a religious school and feel like that whole system is corrupted, but mainly because I thought that there was these other institutions that were between me and source energy. Once I figured out I could go with a shaman and get connected, I can tell you that you do get the sense that there is large amounts of things and energies and beings that we do not see that are operating right around us. And when I watched that episode, I was floored that she was saying that, because a lot of people could think she's crazy, but I think we're moving into a time now where more people kind of understand that we are connected and there are things happening and there is some evil things happening. They do not make sense. You have 24,700 people dying every day from hunger on this planet, and Bill Gates is running around trying to jab people. He's trying to, I don't see him building any food networks for distribution. So when you start adding this up, you start to realize there is some evil and some depopulation and some eugenics happening. And she points to that in various different ways, very succinctly in that episode, and very well done.
Yeah, I mean, what I heard in there too was like, it's not so much like cutting off the social security, but this is the slow kill. Like, we just jabbed up all these people and we're just gonna make them sick, they're gonna die. And I know in Canada they introduced MAID, the medically assisted death, like basically government sanctioned suicide or murder, but self-chosen murder, and they have it packaged up nicely. Like, there's a good option for you. Personally, my aunt chose to use the program after she suffered a stroke and was paralyzed in half of her body. I wonder why she suffered a stroke.
Right. That was a story of Kayla Pollock. She's doing great work raising awareness about this. She had a big vaccine injury. I think it was a stroke that left her paralyzed. And, this was something, she's up in Canada, and, they pitched this to her. Right. It's just unreal.
Oh, and I mean, and they're really making it that option of like, yeah, it's a good savings. I mean, we talked about this, I think, with Sam Shoemade as well when we were talking about the military. It's like, the cost of like rehabilitating a veteran versus them committing suicide. It's much more effective if they just commit suicide. It's a lot cheaper. It saves a whole lot of money if they just commit suicide. So let's not get in the way, because financially it's better incentive, or it's more cost savings.
Still 18 a day. 18 a day.
18
a day.
Ooh, yeah.
We don't take care of them, just like Social Security. We've got these institutions, and I worked with a veteran. I don't know if I've told you this before, but I worked with a veteran, and the stuff that he was going through was quite absurd, really. I mean, the doctors that he was dealing with had top level care. The hoops they have to jump through, and the treatment they give, the way they give it, they use him as a pin cushion. They've tested all the stuff out. He's given all the vaccines while he's in the Army, came out with all sorts of issues, loaded up with all kinds of test things in his body. It's just, when you watch what happens, it's pretty sad. And how I came to work with that gentleman is he was doing something, and I asked someone in my family, "Hey, what's up with that person?" And they're like, "Yeah, he's suicidal, man. It's not good." I was like, "Really?" So let me start talking to this guy and see what's going on. And sure enough, man, that story, I'm sure that he outlined to me, it's everywhere. It's with most of them. They don't get our respect or support that they deserve. Whether you like war or not, when a human goes and serves and does the deed, they deserve the support. Just like if you.
Oh yeah, in theory, yes. In theory, absolutely. We don't want to. We virtue signal around supporting the troops and respecting the veterans, but then in reality, you get discharged, and then you get drugs, and or you get injured and you get drugs, and you get taken from a nice structured environment into being alone and self-reliant without any structure or order around you, but with a VA that will feed you drugs, to keep you in a state.
This guy was actually got on the most amount of methadone of any human in the country. And the reason why I figured this out was because a couple years back, they were going to take him off of methadone. And so he was flipping out, like for 2 months. He was like, this date's coming up, and he started being anxious. Like, what's going on? He's like, they're taking me off methadone. I'm like, okay, what kind of program? Like, what's going to happen? Like, nothing. Like, one day I'm going to have it, and then next day I'm not. And they put me on this thing called Suboxone. And so I had to go figure out, like, I'd never heard of Suboxone, so I had to go figure out what that was. And then I had to spend time as his advocate writing letters to our congressman and writing letters to the VA and trying to get on the phone with doctors and his care rep. And come to find out, there's no support. They were literally going to pull him off. They did. They pulled him off Suboxone, or pulled him off methadone, with zero kind of program. Zero. It was just like, hey, all right, you were taking the max amount a human can take, and then the very next day, here's some Suboxone. So
there's something else, like, we've now got to recycle it. Okay, so moving on, Jeff Hayes made a new film, and I actually got a link to this the other day, saying, "Hey, are you part of this? What's this all about?" I looked; it was Maha Films. Maha Films. What's Maha Films? That sounds great. Sounds like something we should be highlighting here. So, Jeff Hayes released this book, or this movie. What's the movie's title? It's called
Toxic Nation here. Oh, I should have put the name in there. I meant to.
Toxic Nation, mahafilms.com. If you want to check it out, we're going to play a little clip right now about...
This is about glyphosate again,
Bayer is poisoning us and pushing overpriced chemo treatments that don't work. Check out the new flick by Jeff Hayes. And Jeff Hayes has done a lot of great work and produced a lot of awesome films in and around the Kennedy orbit and the Maha movement and the independent movement. So let's give it a look. Here we go.
Darkly ironic. Bayer, a pharmaceutical company who has treatments that they sell to treat things like non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, buys Monsanto, who creates a product that causes non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. One of the interesting things that people probably aren't aware of, and one of the things that I hear constantly, and I have personal experience with, is that there are people who are quote unquote gluten intolerant. They can't eat any gluten-based products. They can't eat things with wheat in them. They can go to Europe, they can go to Italy, eat the pasta there, no problem. They don't feel it at all. Why would that be? It's because the soil that it's grown in and the way that the crops are treated in that process is different.
So what's going on right now in the food supply is that genetically modified ingredients are mostly not still labeled. They're not disclosing what's going on in the food supply. And we are consuming very high levels of glyphosate herbicides in our foods. Most conventional foods, especially grains, peas, beans, legumes, will have glyphosate because it's allowed. And this is what is making America sick.
We have in the US what are called MRLs, maximum residue levels. And these are levels that the EPA sets as legal limits. So if you have this much glyphosate in an apple, for instance, and it's underneath your MRL, you're fine, it's legal. How do they set these MRLs? Well, what I came to find out is they set them pretty much whatever the company selling the chemical tells them they should be set at. The company does the research to find out, how much is going to be left on the food, and then they work with the EPA and they set these levels. And if you look at a database of MRLs around the world, you find that the US consistently has the highest legal limits in our foods because the companies say they're safe.
Very low levels of glyphosate have shown to contribute to endocrine disruption, to cancer, to all kinds of harm. So really, according to the science, there's no safe level of glyphosate in our food supply. 0.1 parts per billion is what should be avoided, according to scientists. That would be the maximum residue level for all the crops. That's not the case. Peppermint has a maximum residue level of 200 parts per million. That's 200,000 parts per billion. Wheat has a maximum residue level of 30 parts per million. That's 30,000 parts per billion. Why is that? That's because of industry use. There's these super weeds that are growing in the cornfields, growing a resistance to glyphosate. So farmers are now taking 2 or 3 passes on the crop. The residue levels increase. So now you need to raise the level to 13 parts per million. And that's what Monsanto told the EPA back in 2013. And the EPA did that without any scientific evidence of showing that raising the maximum residue level is at all safe. So that entire system is fraudulent.
I mean, I look at this stuff.
Oh man,
Well,
so
I,
this
can
is
I can just keep watching that.
yeah, it's great. You know, he does a great job. This whole thing was about 2 hours long. You know, I really learned a lot about seed oils. I had no idea about. You know, I could go on and tell you why seed oils are so bad for us, but it brought some facts up that really hit it home for me that this is a bigger issue than I really realized. And this glyphosate there, you know, hitting on a couple important points. You know, talking about. You know, they vertically integrated this system where, you know, Bayer is selling us cancer treatments. This is, you know, $10,000+ they're getting for a lot of these. And they're creating this, the cancers with glyphosate, you know, the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, they've already had to pay out $12 billion just for this. But yeah, it's really wild. And, you know, something Zen Honeycutt, she's really great on this issue with Moms Across America, trying to get some action going. You know, she talks about how, you know, studies show just a drift level, just a tiny bit, like 2% of what your neighbor, you know, what your neighbor's using to kill his weeds, as the directions say. You know, that comes across and gets in your garden. Now you know, it might give you cancer to begin with, but also it can stop your crops from having 90% of the nutrients they would. So you talk about killing the soil. This is how powerful this poison is. It kills everything green, kills all the microbes. And yeah, it's just an antibiotic. It's anti-life. It's killing all of us.
Got to stop that. Got to stop that stuff. And so people are asking James, hey guys, what's the name and link to what's playing? It's mahafilms.com. It's called Toxic Nation. Definitely check it out. I was down to just keep kind of watching that. I don't know if we want to maybe just like tune in and watch a little bit more. It's pretty good. We were actually discussing maybe we should just watch some of this film together. Maybe like, you know, have a little watch party.
I'm telling you, I was running that by Jeff. I was saying we got to have a little a fundraiser because they put a lot of good work into it. They got a lot of great people there speaking, and the production value is off the charts. But yeah, the same thing with the Fall of the Silenced movie, right? We got so many great clips out, and they're just not reaching the masses like they could be, and that's our job. I think all of us can.
Well, and they just don't have like, you know, they don't have the army, like the big funding towards creating a lot of distribution, a lot of awareness. You got to look at that No Kings thing that happened last week, and the amount of propaganda, of the amount of like free advertising that they got on every local channel, like every local channel, news channel across all of America. Let all their people know like this is happening and over again, including follow-ups of like, here photos from the No Kings rally in Sarasota. And it's like, oh my God. It's like, they just like hammered it and they fled the zone with it versus like, you know, on the side of, you know, the resistance, the rebels, the rebellion, the light workers trying to spread good awareness, truth, and seek justice. You know, we don't have the endless deep coffers towards like relentlessly pushing these things. You know, so we need to rely on the efforts of the people towards pushing it out. It's very difficult when, you know, you don't, like, we could all just like retweet it. That doesn't actually mean people, you know, get it out there.
Well,
The
you
irony
know
in
what?
that whole event is just fascinating to me. You've got no king, but you just had your previous king, like basically stopping all talking on vaccines. You couldn't, no freedom of speech. You couldn't talk about vaccine side effects. You couldn't go to work unless you got a vaccine. I mean, it was literally king stuff. And then what was hilarious is the Capitol. They had, I don't know if you guys saw this footage, but they had put gates, like those metal gates you see, the bike racks, the metal bike racks you see at concerts and stuff like that to stop crowds. They had put those all around the Capitol. And they busted through them like, oh, we're going to the Capitol. It was like, you know, it's exactly the same thing just the other side. It was literally just fascinating to watch them do the same thing. And now they just killed these two senators. Was it two senators that just got killed for voting with the right? What was that, Minnesota? They voted, two Democrats. Did you hear about that? The two Democrats that voted with the right that got shot and killed by a Democrat for voting to not give Medicare to illegal immigrants, like to kind of take away their funding. This is what we're talking, like, you know, it's the same thing that they accuse the right of that they didn't do, they actually do.
I want to give Glenn a shout out. Hey, Glenn, appreciate you. Thank you for everything that you've done in the Maha movement. There is no danger of World War III. Please don't listen to the woke right BS propagandists out there. I want to believe, and I don't believe. It feels like this is this is all part of the grand illustrious theater. And I would say that, you know, can Maha stop World War III? Hell yeah, we can. Don't give it energy. Don't, like, you know, they want to suck you in to the fear and the division and taking a side, and, you know.
I'd venture to say we're actually kind of already in a world war, and it's World War III, but it's just a virtual one, and it's a little different, and it's just in a complete and total division, and it's actually at a macroscopic level, and a micro level. I mean, we've got a civil war in our country between the left and right, and the pendulum is swinging harder and harder. So while it might not look like the world wars of the past, and it might not look like the civil wars of the past, we've replaced the guns in our hands with phones in our hands, and we're mobile warriors. Tell, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to get you, I'm going to, like, you're a terrible person. And that mental distress could almost be worse than go ahead and shooting your enemy and then having the war be over, because what we're in is a complete, you know, desolation of our society through a divide and conquer manipulation from a corporate plutocracy that have taken over our institutions and our governments, having us all fight while they steal the world's resources. So on some level, it is a world war, but it's just in minds and hearts, and just played out slightly differently.
Yeah, this reminds me of famous Canadian commentator Marshall McLuhan. His famous quote said, "World War III is a guerrilla information war with no division between military and civilian participation." And it certainly feels like that is what we are in, and what we have been in for a long time. And so, you know, the way that it's the framing is always a little bit shifts as these things come up. But again, it's like these energy vampires, they want to suck in your energy, they want to suck in your attention. They want you to be afraid and feel divided, and, you know, find another reason to look at people questionably, or, you know, get triggered by them. I had a good chat today with one of my friends. He went to one of the No Kings rallies, and he went to go just check it out, but he's like a pretty hardcore, like, libertarian Maha, like, Bitcoiner. And it was I wish Dama was on here, because, like, it's kind of reflective of some of our journeys. But it's like when you get in those hostile protest environments, and, like, you represent the other side, and if you choose to take, like, you know, Damien would always, like, play the soft and, like, hey, let's find a way to hang out and talk, and, like, you know, how are we supposed to solve any of our problems if we can't talk about them? Versus, like, this guy was like like, auto pen, you guys like auto pen, here's the cutting off children's wieners, like, here's the mastectomies, here's the still wearing face diapers in the middle of summer in June, what are you guys doing? And people are like, and then just the interactions of it was, I could just, in watching them, it was like, man, the adrenaline that
Yes, video of that, of him doing that.
So much video, like, people yelling at him, calling him Nazis, like, literally some of these, like, you know, these No Kings protesters just screaming at the top of their lungs at him, just screaming. Like there isn't too much room for discussion or debate, and but there's also this element, and like this was something, you know, my amazing wife Brittany was talking about, which was like, how do they like successfully organize all these people to come out? You know, in San Diego, they had a huge turnout. In Sarasota, here, they had a huge turnout, like 6,000 people, they're saying, which is probably like, you know, 2,000 or 1,000 people in reality. But that's a lot of people. And I just, you know, I'm like, look, there's a lot of Democrat voters out there, and they don't have too many opportunities to come together and like do something together. So it's like, oh, we're all going to be doing this one thing on this one day. Like, yeah, let's make this sign that says no kings. Yeah, Trump, he's like a king. He's bad. He's baddie. So it's like they found a way to like, you know, mobilize everybody out. But then in talking to my friend Bruce, who was the guy who was on the ground, you know, it's like they want to be part of like the cool thing. And when confronted, like there is power in like, you know, good trolling of it because others are watching. And if some lady's screaming at you like a maniac and you're with her, like this is who I want to associate. This is the spokesperson for, you know, the conscious like of the people Democrats. Like no, this is deranged. This is mental.
I will say that like watching them, like when they were getting in front of cars, they were like, I don't know if you saw some of the video of like
that woman getting run over by the car. Yeah.
They're screaming at my wife's like, what is going on in your laptop right now? Like, what is that? That's not normal. Like, my fear is that if this pendulum swings the other way, what does the right or Maha do if it goes the other way? That's why we should all be like ready to stand up and really get active in the states' rights, because the 85 papers known as the Federalist Papers, if you read them, they basically are concerned about what's happening now. Like that this is it. Like the whole idea that the federal government can come in and start doing what they're doing in the Fed, and the states start going after like all of our freedoms. What's going on right now is covered in those papers, and it moves towards the 1984 situation with either side going ballistic on this next one. Like what we're seeing now is one thing, but this next election in 2028, I think the pendulum is going to swing much further. So we need to make sure that we keep centered in what we're doing, because it's going on.
Everybody needs to just jump on the pendulum and let's just weigh that thing down. Let's lock it down, because we don't need more of this action happening.
Ooh, that leg got run over, huh? Oh.
That guy. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, like, why do you need to be in front of a car? It's just, you know, DeSantis in Florida said, listen, man, you're blocking traffic. You can get run over. Like, I don't want to be in my car with 3 kids or driving somewhere and have crazy people like trying to stop me from going somewhere. I don't like, that's not a fun situation. I don't know what you have. I just don't want to be there on any level.
That is scary, because it's like, yeah, what do they want? If they want to stop you and come crowd around your car and start rocking your car back and forth, where is this going? This isn't a good place to be.
There's no, like, that person was just trying to go from A to B, and like, you know, these people have chosen to hold a demonstration in the middle of the street. Yeah.
Here was my point, though. I wanted to say the no kings. I don't know what that comes from. I guess what the people on the left are most upset about is the deportations. But if you go back and you look at Obama deported 3 million people over his 2 terms. He deported 2 million in his first term, And Trump's only deported, I think 200,000 in 6 months. So he's on track to do much less than Obama. So I just don't know what this whole, all this ire. It really is just the power of the propaganda. You say, how did they, get all these people together? It's just free advertising. They have this establishment apparatus. They got these talking heads just that are really got a power over people's minds, and it becomes
In some defense, they, you know, both sides do operate on this level of being controlled by corporations and agendas, as we can see with Trump with mRNA. Pam Bondi was like basically, almost working for Pfizer, basically promoting mRNA, and she steps
Can't we
in.
come together, the left and the right, on this, and just do a big anti-mRNA thing where red and blue and some purple flags in there? Huh?
It's the science. It's the scientific elite Eisenhower warned us of. This is a like I said before, this is a 15-step process. It's not even a 12-step process. But Trump, and they did act somewhat like USAID and what they did. There are some people that have probably died from that scenario. Is it 50,000 as you heard on news reports? No, but there is some research and some stuff that was taken away that probably did end up with some stuff. They are going to do some stuff to Medicaid that does limit it, even though it does go after right things. So there are some things, we have to talk in truth and reality. I know there's, I know I've heard Dustin and other people like, this is not cool on specific things that happen. If we have to be able to call people out, like left or right. And ultimately, I think that's one of the biggest issues here, is that as far as back as I can remember, back to 2000, the moral high ground used to be on the right. It was like God, gun, government, war, let's go get Iraq, even though they didn't do the thing. And there was nothing anybody could say about that. That moral high ground is now on steroids on the left, with science, and now they're on the war side. And each side points to the other king, but is unable to see that their previous leader acted in just the same way, just doing things that they liked. And in that, each time the pendulum swings, we all lose a little bit more of our rights. And they mask that through the divide and conquer, making us fight your neighbor, versus understanding that it's the elite and the people that are controlling the narrative and controlling the media and controlling the corporations and the medicine and pretty much everything that we know and see and hear. Somehow we have to cut through that, and I don't think we're currently winning that fight.
Yeah, and just like on this No King, I'll just pull up their website, and like you might be watching that, but this is like, who is No Kings? Like, who's really behind this? And this is the telling part. This is who are the partners on this. So like 350, that's like that extreme climate group that wants to like ACLU. I mean, like these are all like these associations that declared a bunch of funding into this. Bernie. I mean, I don't necessarily need to call them all out, but there's a lot of groups, and this is, again, all of these organizations and all of their lists, and they're all participating, getting in here. So that they just had their cataclysmic event, and guess what? Nothing really happened. They tried to interfere with the Flag Day, Planned Parenthood. Amazing people.
Yeah, to your point though, man, it makes me think of what are they critical of about Trump here? Is it the war? I wish I wish they were marching for peace. Can't we?
Oh no, this is just Trump. This isn't about any like actual thing. No, this is just about Trump. Like, Trump's doubling down on authoritarian tactics. This is about protecting democracy, Johnny. This is about fighting authoritarianism, authoritarians that are dead set on destroying our democracy. And remember, these are the Democrats that believe that, the best type of democracy would be really there's just one candidate on the ballot. They tried to get Trump off the ballot. They tried to get Bobby off the ballot. They literally wanted to have Joe Biden. I mean Kamala Harris. They didn't have a democratic process. Like honestly, fuck these guys.
Well, you know, I'm reading right here. It says including politicizing the military and are they talking about, you know, what is this?
Politicizing.
Is that is that a QAnon reference? I just feel like
they're saying that his tactic is politicizing the military, right? And where
there were a lot of people who were upset about this big parade that happened with the army, but this was something that was planned going back in September last year before Trump was elected, and this was a 250th anniversary of that unit. So it's just a lot of misinformation. They love talking about misinformation. They're the number one propagandists. So
they certainly are. Yeah, and that military parade was something else too, right?
Only watched a couple minutes of it.
Here's a. Hold on.
You're not going to play the squeaky tank, are you?
No, this is just a clip. Let me share this tab instead. Share this. I was like watching this and it was like, oh gosh, like.
Special thanks to our sponsor, Coinbase. Special thanks to our sponsor, Coinbase.
There's like all the sponsors, and like honestly, for like Coinbase, like this is where they choose to sponsor. Like Coinbase doesn't show up, doesn't sponsor. Like I guess they sponsored like a Super Bowl kind of commercial once, but then for them to sponsor this, like they say they want to stay out of politics, whatever. But this is obviously kind of like getting in there. But it's like this section is brought to you by Lockheed Martin. This section is brought to you by Raytheon. And it's like and then this section is brought to you by Coinbase. It's like it's also interesting to see how far Bitcoin and crypto has come. That the fact that this was happening, and also the fact that this happened right before this whole staged Israel thing. Like, did anybody really think that this wasn't like this hasn't been long planned?
By who?
That's a good question, Billy.
I mean, you got 2,000 years of like religious fighting over here over a strip of land, and who's right about about the Almighty in the sky. I mean, that's what this is about. I don't know how much you can plan that with something that's been slowly escalating for 2,000 plus years. I mean, I think there's definitely a conspiracy going on with small groups of people, but the humans on the ground that are living their lives have been manipulated against each other for so long. Their great grandparents were telling stories about the war with the other side. This is, what I mean? This is something that I think Americans and Canadians can't quite grasp, because we don't have, a Hatfield and McCoy kind of enemy in that regard that goes back generations, that we believe is our core enemy. Like we don't have that in our bones. We don't come from that. But surely over there, that is the essence of what's going on, which again pulls me back to the religious aspect of, being pulled away from the true source energy, and being divided. That's not whatever source energy it is. I'm sure it doesn't want that. You know what I mean? That's not it. And so they're being manipulated. I don't care if you call him Muhammad, Jesus, Jesus, Allah. I don't care what you call that entity. That is not what that entity is looking for. Period. I was in the presence of that thing. I can honestly say I get chills just even thinking about it. That is not what that entity is looking for.
No. On Bobby's front, though, it sounds like we haven't since the last episode, Bobby fired the whole CDC panel, right? Got rid of them all.
ACIP, yeah.
They're all gone.
Yep, 17 ACIP, the guys, the people that oversee the vaccine schedule and all that. Yep.
And
You're fired.
Fired. And now he's heading to have a vote on flu shots with mercury. Okay, this is kind of interesting. So now we're gonna start. Let's get down to work. And one of the great things that I'm liking about this, well, not liking about the current situation, but one of the benefits of all the attention, like very little attention being on Bobby, is that, and this whole thing is that he can get to work. So, the fact that he's not embroiled in a lot of this geopolitical stuff and this foreign affairs, he can really focus on the Maha agenda and hopefully pushing things through while people are looking over here. Over here, Bobby's going to be getting some serious work done. So, what do you guys think?
Yeah, man, I think he's in a very unique spot. I think on the road, Bobby would say he prayed for 20 plus years to be put in a place where he could do this work. And quite frankly, I think him as president would have, while I think it would have been great, I think it would have been a whole completely different scenario for what we're in right now. And the battles would have been much larger. And here he's getting ready. He's focused 100% on what his mission was. 100%.
Right.
So that I think that means a lot to the people in the Maha space. I think he's taking these small steps, and I think there's a lot of people out there. I speak to them. They don't like a lot of things, like approving the vaccine schedule, saying you should take the MMR. But again, I think when you have a group of people like the left that are addicted to their Pfizer drugs, it is worse than a heroin addiction. And at the moral high ground is so high that this is a 15-step process, not a 12-step process.
What do we think about this one? General Mills to remove artificial colors from all its U.S. cereals and foods. General Mills announced they will remove all artificial food dyes from the U.S. products hours after Kraft Heinz announced they would do the same thing. The Maha agenda is sweeping through America's food supply.
Here's the issue that I'll have. It's great. Here's the issue I'll tell you about this. My son is going off to college. If you go look at and they've got nutrition people at this college. If you go look at their menu, it's filled with just corn, soy, and wheat. The chili, 4 different ingredients had different kind of seed oils and hydrogenated this. 4 different ingredients in the chili had that stuff. The waffle spray. Basically, I took the ingredients on that waffle spray. I pasted it into Grok and said, because it didn't look edible to me. I pasted in Grok, and Grok said, "This is not food grade material. Please make sure that this is actually in a kitchen. Anybody using this in a spray in a kitchen should be wearing a mask. This is not edible." It was like polypropylene glycol. It was all plastic-based shit. So my biggest concern about what we have going on, this is all great. Wait,
you're sending your son, you bought him the full meal plan?
Well, they kind of force you on that for the first year. you got to pay the full thing. You got to live on campus. You got to get
this is University Virginia Tech, you said?
Yeah.
It's a big university. This is like one of America's most prestigious, and they're just poisoning the students.
Well, I didn't respond to that letter to them outlining, so I'm just gonna I got to figure out how to respond. But if you go look at, they're back on the food pyramid of like, eat this kind of stuff. You should be eating grains and cereal and breads every day. No, you shouldn't. None of their stuff is organic. So I'm literally having conversations with my kid about how we can get farm fresh stuff delivered to me. He's 4.5 hours away, but I need to today we had steak and eggs. Is like no bread. Yeah, he had a burger at Five Guys without the bread. We're trying to remove everything. When he goes to school, we went and ate in the cafeteria, and it's all like breaded chicken and ramen noodles and
American flour is no good, right? It's like
it's not good. So
American bread is not bread.
The problem here is that dye is such a small amount. Great, but it's the if you're going to eat 7 ounces of cereal, the amount of dye in that is 0.02 ounces. It's the other 6.98 ounces that is terrible for you. Every aspect of it. All the corn, soy, and wheat in the United States, 95% of it is doused in glyphosate. If you go right now and search glyphosate, NIH, celiac, the very first link will be the study from the 1995s. Glyphosate, celiac, NIH. You'll see the study that links celiac to the poundage of glyphosate sprayed. If you scroll down, you'll see the graph. For those of you who want to read this, it's a very, very easy thing to search. You'll see the graph. That graph is the poundage of glyphosate used on wheat and the instance of celiac in our country. They mirror each other. So over this period of time, we started using more and more poundage of glyphosate. This is in our corn, soy, and wheat. Go to the supermarket and try to find shit that doesn't have corn, soy, and wheat in it. Go to my son's school and try to find shit that doesn't have corn, soy, and wheat. It's everywhere. So
yeah, I mean, this ended in 2010. I wonder what I would love to see the last 15 years, this graph updated.
I've written them asking them to update this study. Actually, yeah, it's and there's no money in protecting us this way.
They can't. Like it's in all of our food. Now you couple that with the lack of nutrients. We get boxes of vegetables directly from a farm in Pennsylvania that's an Amish farm, and we pay a little bit more for it. And my wife's like, "That's a little expensive." I was like, "Yeah, but it's a farm where they're rotating. They've got cows out in the field. It's grass-fed and finished beef. We're getting it directly from a farmer who's not spraying it with glyphosate. So we're paying a little bit more for our vegetables. What's the cost in that? So what's the cost in paying $10 more or $25 more for your vegetables to not have 5 people in your family get cancer or have rheumatoid arthritis or have leaky gut syndrome or have skin issues or have allergies or have name the 30 things that come from the glyphosate, the wheat, the chemicals, all the stuff that's in that cereal. The one thing, if we're talking about health, that's the one thing that I think a lot of people have an issue with here, is that it's just the 1 or 2 things that are getting removed, and it's really everything else. And it's really the food pyramid that is still being pitched to so many kids, and they're just downing themselves in corn, soy, and wheat and hydrogenated seed oils and sugary foods. And it's killing us. So I agree. Great the dyes are out, but that's just 1%. and it's on us. And the thing is, it's on us. Like, we should be understanding that. So when we eat bread, like the bread that we eat does not have folic acid in it, and it's organic. So we will eat it. And I try to make my own bread. I'll get organic, gluten-free stuff and flour and make our own breads and flatbreads. It's a little better for you when you can do it. But people say, I don't have the money. Man, I just made gluten-free flatbread the other day. It cost me $1.
It's literally like you just need good flour, and it's like you may even want to spring for like that European flour too.
Einkorn, yeah.
Like I know Trader Joe's, like they've got a delicious brioche bread. It's straight from France, so it's like it's like one of the things you might want to explore. Pretty good time.
Here, let me give the pitch for why it's worth it. Look, it's gonna taste better. You're gonna feel better right afterwards. You're gonna feel better the next day. You're gonna feel better a week from then. And then it's like you're not going to the doctor. You're not wasting money there. So it's just worth it. And it's like going back 100 years ago, 20% of our income went to our food. Now it's just 10%. But you know what else is flipped? Back then we had 10% of our money was spent on our healthcare. Now it's 20%. So, instead of having good food, we're just paying it to doctors for bad treatments that aren't helping. So, yeah, we got to get back to having the food be the medicine again.
Yep.
I'm not sure if this happened in the last little bit, but yeah, the Maha PAC is now established, American Values, which was the PAC that was supporting Bobby Kennedy and did a lot of the great work. They did the Super Bowl ad. They were the primary kind of, one of the primary mobilization forces. They've kind of shifted and are now the Maha PAC. What do you guys think about that?
I talked to those guys. Just talked to one of the guys over there today. They're a great team of people. There's 18 people over there. They're associated with the Maha Institute. They're going to be. They have another C4 that's coming in as well, so they'll have 3 entities working, doing the great work. They're awesome. They're a great team of people, and they're gearing up for all kinds of national issues that's coming out of all Bobby's agencies he oversees, and they're getting into some state level work and doing the good work. There's not many agencies, entities, corporations, organizations, NGOs out there really trying to forward the Maha movement right now. There's only a couple, and the agenda is big, and the fight is long, and the war is coming, and they're set up to do it. And luckily, there's a lot of humans in the United States that are willing to donate. I know that's what they're doing now, and I know that's what a lot of state level organizations are doing. So they're really looking at this as a unified front to really affect change and create a voting bloc that will sway elections and win them, which is a great mission.
Totally. Maha PAC. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Tony's been doing some great work. American Values is one of the best.
Yeah, so definitely give them a follow too, and we are like open to collaborating and supporting. Gosh, that Bobby, he's such a great guy, man. Just seeing the Bobby fan club too. I don't know has anybody started that? Like just a serious fan club for this man.
I like it when he eats his steaks with his hands.
What'd you say?
I like it when Bobby eats his steaks with his hands. I like eating my steaks that way too.
I just did that today with my son.
All right.
Let's see. Jay Bhattacharya, he's coming in hot too, right? Right.
He had his first new podcast there. I want to check that out. I didn't get to watch that yet.
It'd be interesting to see what he says, but he's a Stanford doctor. We need to replicate Dr. J. Bring him out in a big way.
I will say one thing. We did speak with a couple Democrats here, and they are feeling a little bit of left out of Maha. Like in the conversation, it's always like these Democrats are doing this, and we got Rob Lucero, who we worked on the campaign, who's running, I think, District 34 in LA. There's a couple other Democrats we spoke to, and the piece of advice was for the people in Maha, you kind of seem to have leaned right. You may have pissed off some of your left-leaning or your independent or libertarian Maha peeps by going full right. But don't forget about us. Like try to bring us back to the middle. And I will say, Coder, which I started with Danielle, the Council on Domestic Relations, that's our whole thing, is finding the middle ground. And it's the one thing that I think with what we're talking about and what we're doing, it's irrelevant of what you believe left or right. That's irrelevant for Maha.
I want to address one other topic.
That's right.
No, I'm with you, Billy, but the Democrats specifically, yeah, golly, they've gone so far left, wide open borders, the transgender full
I'll say
on,
this.
censorship.
I agree with you, but here's the deal. If you walk into, and I hate to use this analogy, if you walk into the Kool-Aid gang and they're all planning to drink the Kool-Aid in 17 days and kill themselves, do you walk back out and say they're all crazy, or do you go in there and say, listen, man, you can't drink the Kool-Aid? Here's why. Let me talk to you a little bit. Let me tell you about the Kool-Aid. Let me tell you about the stuff they're putting in the Kool-Aid. Let me tell you about the cup the Kool-Aid's in. When they make the Kool-Aid hot and they put it in the cup, the plastic gets in the Kool-Aid. You got to talk to them about the Kool-Aid.
I'm with you, Billy.
This is militaristic brainwashing on a level I don't think we've understand. And they've been playing this game for 30, 40 years, and they played side by side. If you really pay attention, it happened to the right for a little bit. It happened to the left. And now it's happening on steroids. We owe it to them to just speak honestly, sincerely, like they're your mother, your brother, your sister, your son, a relative, a neighbor, an old lady who needs some help, a young man who just needs a leg up. We owe it to them to speak honestly, straightforward, and not like they're morons, because I don't think that's the case.
Billy,
Great
you're,
analogy, Billy. That I never heard that Kool-Aid one, so that's really good. I don't know why you hated to say it, because that's a good one. You should use that more often.
I'll do that.
I felt like confirmation for me. I wanted to reach out to my friend who I know is, big time leftist, and ask her to come on and talk about, what she's protesting Trump about. What does she feel so strongly about? And if she doesn't feel equipped to talk about that, then recommend me. Who wants to come on and really like talk about these things? Because, yeah, I think
that would be great here. Like bring them on. The bottom line is, I can understand. Like, I grew up a long-haired hippie going at the smoke-in DC. I understand, but I was tooled against something there as well. The party has moved. The messaging has changed. The direction is more focused. The media is just a brainwashing tool. Once you get out of that, you start to see it. And I have family members who are fully in that thought that lefties are crazy. Now they just kind of understand, okay, well, I get it now. They think the way that we used to think, and we need to use our brains and kind of communicate about what the issues are, and really get down to brass tacks and really talk about it. Like, the immigration thing is a good one, because when you really start to talk about it, if you can get past the yelling, I think it starts to make sense. It's not that, like, I've got Native American and Italian and Irish in me. My family was immigrants, and then some of my family was already here. I'm for immigrants. It's just that we have to take care of the people here. When you have this many people dying in the country and can't eat food, and have a hurricane come through and can't get help, we can't let more people in. I was explaining to my wife, as like, I've got some people living in my house. It holds 5 people. I've got 2 other people living here that I'm helping, that work with me, doing the best I can. But if all of a sudden 10 more people came into my home, like, we wouldn't be able to take care of the 7 that we have here, because it's 2 acres, finite resources, finite income, finite food, finite stuff, that our family would then start hurting. Our health would deteriorate. The 7 people that we have, then now the 17, we wouldn't be able to take care of them. And that's ultimately what's going on. And that's what's going on around the country. So we have to have those honest conversations and find that middle ground. It's not like we don't want these people to go away. We just want to be able to take care of a foundation here in this country, so that when they do show up, we have the resources they need. Because right now we don't have the resources they need, or the resources for the people in the cities where they're going. So that's a double negative. And that's what's, playing at the heart of many of the issues we have in this country. And my wife, I told her, 15 years ago, I said, the same things they're doing in other countries, where different nationalities are coming in and being pulled in, they're going to do here. And she's like, damn, you were right, man. Whew, okay. And that's what's happening. So we have to understand that.
We gotta understand, Billy. Well said, man. Just got to keep ringing the bell here, and we're just in this age of distraction, so it's just got to keep on keeping at it.
Yeah, but a debate on here would be good. Like, some being able to talk about that, bring some some left-leaning peeps on, and doing a Maha initiation, kind of initiation with some people, and we've had some larger guests. I think next week we might have Wayne Miller, who's cured his father neuropathy with red light. I think he might be able to come on next week for a little bit. But maybe we can start some dialogue and some middle ground finding.
We need a whole lot more of that. Let's heal the divide, huh?
Yeah.
Let us heal. All right, guys. Anything else we want to cover?
Man, I'll just say one last thing, guys. It's always a good time to plant another fruit tree, and whether that's an aguacate or get the passion fruit going. Let the food be the medicine. Get ourselves sovereign again. Our favorite plants and animals are what makes it happen. And it's crazy the way inflation is a big part of this. But the more we can be self-reliant in our communities, the better off we're going to be. Whether it's food purity or real freedom. So let's keep that in mind.
Power. Well said.
I wanted to talk about like the soil too. There was that company that, Johnny, are you familiar with that initiative to do local compost recycling towards creating soil? What was it called? It was called...
I knew a girl doing that locally in West Palm, but that was just a local deal she was doing. She was getting all the coffee grounds from all the Starbucks, and she was that was a big part of what she was doing. And but this is something where, like, in Florida, you go out to Oregon, you got a tiny trash bin and you got a giant compost bin, and then you go to Florida, you got no compost bin, right? So they're not, they're just giving away all that every leaf, every blade of grass, it's all this organic matter, right? It's like you're saying, it can build our soils and make our food more nutritious that we're growing locally. So it's a really great initiative to be a part of.
Yeah, I'm trying to find that. I don't know, because there's a company, I met the founder. It was great. We've talked about it on the show a couple times before, but I just wanted to highlight it again.
Is that the molecule dude? He's got the molecule in the dirt?
No, it's not the molecule. It's the soil. Farm Hero? No, that's not it. Make Soil. Make Soil.
I tell you, the way people, I love telling people they can make soil in their backyards is there's this idea, like a permaculture design idea called a banana circle. So it's about 6 feet wide. You plant your bananas in a circle, and in the middle, you have it dug out a little bit. You throw your compost down in there, and your bananas, they love all that fertility. So you're really investing in them right away with that.
Yeah. So here's this Make Soil kind of company. So let's just say explore the map. And I'll just kind of zoom into where I am. These are all these different soil sites. So a lot down here in Sarasota. So let's say, for example, I don't know, let's see what this guy's up to. Pam's Garden. So she accepts fruit, vegetables, plant-based foods, cooked foods, grease, eggshells, dairy, tea bags, coffee grounds, coffee filter paper, dry leaves and flowers, grass clippings, hair, natural fibers, paper towels, potted plants. Does not accept junk mail, printed paper, bulk yard waste, genetically modified foods. Interesting. Pet waste, anything treated with Roundup, meat, and bones. Pretty cool, right?
Dude, this is great. I haven't seen this before. Wow.
And then you can say create, I think, let's see.
Is this makesoil.org or .com?
This is makesoil.org. Let's just watch their video right now.
Make Soil is a global movement asking people to come together in their communities, in their neighborhoods, around the simple and universal act of making soil. The world is facing so many challenges today, from the environment to social unrest to mental health to public health, nutrition. And it turns out that making soil together, all of us in our neighborhoods and our backyards and our front yards, is actually one of the most impactful and immediately available things that we can do to make a difference. The current situation is that we have food coming into cities, being consumed and leaving as garbage, food waste. Make Soil interrupts that pattern. Instead, we have food coming into cities, turning into soil, coming into cities, turning into soil. That means that the soil is staying in the cities and greening them from the inside out. At the current rate of topsoil degradation, the UN says we have 60 years of farming left. We're demanding so much from our topsoil. Every week when we go to the grocery store, the food we buy is just a little less nutritious than it was the week before. And rather than leaving that all to farmers, it's time for people in general, for the human species as a whole, to come to understand what soil is, how to respect it, how to take care of it, and how to regenerate it. When people make soil together, when they're left with bucketfuls of living, nourishing soil, the next thought immediately becomes, wow, I'd like to plant something. More people decide to start growing a little bit of their own food. Millions of people growing a little bit of food is a completely different food system. It's a resilient food system. It's a resilient society. We've got this big climate problem today, and the carbon that we need to get out of the air is being pulled out of the air by plants all the time and turned into things like leaves and grass and all the food that we eat. So we as humans can come together and capture all that carbon so long as we turn it into soil. If we don't, a lot of that goes up into the atmosphere. If we allow our food waste to go into the trash, it rots there and turns into methane, which is an even more potent greenhouse gas. If instead we know how to make soil, we can actually create a decentralized, distributed movement of carbon capture. That's the little piece of the climate situation that each of us has influence over. Millions of people making soil together really could have a massive impact on climate change. Right now, almost the entire economy is antithetical to nature and the thriving of the biosphere. So the economy needs to shift to being a regenerative economy, an economy that's actually good for the planet, as well as for the people who are working these jobs. Becoming a soil maker could be one of the first regenerative jobs to go mainstream. Making soil together is a beautiful way to build community. There aren't many things that we come together to do today that actually regenerate the planet and heal the planet. We have a lot of cultural pastimes. We have our sports and we go to movies together and things like this. But when people come together to make soil, it ends up being the first regenerative activity they've ever really participated in. We're literally coming together to heal the planet, to regenerate the planet, to work with the planet. There's an incredible sense of community that comes from doing that together. Mental health and well-being. We go through our lives touching plastic and metal and manufactured surfaces, but we're not almost ever coming into contact with nourishing living soil. When we touch the living soil, it's full of microbes that communicate to our skin, and I think that viscerally and subconsciously communicates to us that the planet itself is alive. We go from feeling lonely to feeling that we are immersed in a living system.
We put zero food in our trash. I have 6 chickens outside and we have a compost and we fill it pretty much every day. And every day our chickens go through that in the backyard. And then that area is just awesome soil. And we take some of that and use it in our garden, 6 months later or whatever. If more people did that, we wouldn't have the issues that we have, like he was talking about with the methane in our landfills. And there's cities you can't really do that. It's really hard to do that. We have 2 acres here, so it's a little easier for us to do it. But a lot of people don't have that option. So that's well done.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And like here, I'll go back to the website too. So here's like, what they're saying. It's like basically, encouraging people to set up, little boxes on the side of their properties and, bring, anyways, there's a whole bunch of information on, how towards making soil. But then if you're going to set up a little shop, like, encouraging other people to, come and, drop it. Will my pile attract pests like rats or coons? Not if you pest proof it. Johnny, what do you think?
I love it. I
It's
love
right
it.
up
And these
your
guys are
alley.
doing it right, So we talk about building soil. The other thing I like to talk about is wood chips. You can get a lot of times, you have a neighbor cutting down a tree and they'll chip it right away so that they can move it more easily, take it to the dump, fit it on the truck. And those chips are invaluable for your soil. If you can get them to dump where you are, give them a tip, give them $20, give them $50. They're going to give you so many wood chips. And that's going to turn into that chocolate cake soil before you know it. And so it's actually recommended you get a nice little food forest going, you get your fruit trees growing, it would be optimal if you could get, 20, 24 inches of wood chips, every year. That's going to reduce down by half. So you can keep getting them. And that's just protecting your soil from the heat. Every time it rains, as those wood chips break down, it's going into there. And then you talk about these building soil with the compost from the kitchen scraps this way. The wood chips are like the brown, it's like the carbon that you mix. A lot of this stuff that you get from the kitchen is going to be high in nitrogen. So you want to find that balance. And so, wood chips can help that way towards getting that balance in a wood chip. In a compost heap, get it super hot, get the magic going. It's amazing how it all just comes together. The plants and the animals, good symbiosis for creating this fertility and creating a good legacy, something that can be really valuable.
GetChipDrop.com.
Yeah, they are awesome. So they can help people connect just the same way they're doing here with the compost heap. So you can find either you can put yourself out there, say, hey, listen, I would love if you're a tree trimmer, if you want to come by, you got my number, or you can find their information and contact them that way. Just going through the
Let's watch their video.
Yeah, there you go.
As we all know, arborist wood chips are the best mulch for your garden. So if you don't want to have to flag down your local arborist, Chip Drop is the second best way to get that mulch for free. Here's how it works. You sign up at getchipdrop.com. You'll be added to a list of sites where arborists can drop their mulch. The arborist pays to access the list, so it's free for you. I know what you're thinking. Great mulch, delivered right to your door for free. What's the catch? Well, there's a few. Today we're talking with people who have used Chip Drop who probably regret it. So it looks like the arborist just dropped a large dump truck-sized pile of mulch right here in the middle of your driveway.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Why didn't you just ask for less?
I don't think you can specify how much you get. If you get a chip drop, it's whatever size truck the arborist happens to have or how full it is.
So you have to take the entire amount, even if it's 15 or 20 yards of mulch.
Yes.
That sounds convenient. So I noticed that this is not exactly store-bought mulch. There are leaves, pine needles, sticks, a candy wrapper. I see a straw. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, yes, I am.
Why?
Well, because it's free.
I see. So does this gigantic pile of wood chips in the street bother your neighbors?
No, because they actually get to take some of it. We all got it together. I have a neighbor around the corner who will take some, and then anybody else who needs it.
You can select logs on Chip Drop.
You can, or some logs and mostly chips.
But it's not called Log Drop.
It's not. It's just an option under Chip Drop.
So with a pile of mulch this size, I'm sure they gave you plenty of notice before they dropped it off?
That is not correct.
No notice at all.
No notice.
No.
Usually they don't give you any notice at all.
I once got mine within hours of requesting it. This time it took 6, maybe 7 weeks.
6 or 7 weeks. That sounds like a scam.
It's a free chip scam is what it is.
So there you have it. No notice, tons of chips, and you might have to wait forever. Chip Drop is a real hassle, unless you're like these folks. And if after all this, you really do want a Chip Drop, Check out our next video, which will tell you how to get ready for one. Happy mulching.
That guy's
Yes.
hilarious.
Hey.
Wow.
What a legend.
I had never seen that.
Which
That
will
was
tell you
great.
how to get ready.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to do that. I have some spots in my yard that could use like some filling in because we get a lot of rain and it runs down a certain area. So
You
I
can
could use like 2 of those truckloads. It'd be great. 2
Yeah,
years
so
from now.
so you could just go on there and just put the instructions, say, hey, listen, this is where I want them. You could like, just give them good instructions, and they come in and try to drop them for you where you want them. But yeah, that's the thing. You get the whole truckload because they don't want to make a bunch of stops. They're trying to get rid of them so they can save. You're saving them money, which is cool because a lot of times they're paying a couple $100 to take these to a dump to drop them somewhere. So
Well,
this is
down
win-win.
here in Sarasota, like after the hurricanes, oh my gosh, there is like so much tree waste, like unbelievable. And like this city, you can request a chip drop from the city, and like my neighbor, this literally this really resonates because this happened to my neighbor. Like they literally dropped like just a ton of mulch on their driveway, and it was like a really nice driveway. It was like kind of fresh, and like it was thick, and like after a couple days, like it starts like composting, so it's getting hot, it's smoking, like it's like it's cooking inside. And like I was like, okay, like I took tons of it and like put it all over our zone. So anyways, this is great. Let's watch this next video.
Ready for one. Happy mulching.
What?
Yeah, it really does look like it's smoking when it's doing that. But I think it's just steam though.
Oh, that's why. Let's open a new tab.
I lost audio. Can you guys hear him?
Can you not hear it?
No.
I can't hear it. Billy, can you? No.
You don't hear anything?
No, man.
What the heck?
You got a little personal video going.
Hold on. Yeah, because this guy's a friggin' legend.
The pleasures of StreamYard. What is he? Is he got some good one-liners again? He was funny, man. I was laughing out loud. My mic was off.
All right, can you hear it now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chip drop is a great way to get arborist mulch for free. Now, if you haven't watched our first video, why chip drop probably isn't for you, check that one out first. This video is for people who really do want a chip drop. The question is, are you ready to receive one? We want your chip drop to be a success. So here are 6 things to keep in mind to be sure you're ready. 1, make sure you have 2 potential drop sites on your property, like a driveway and the side of the road. If the arborist can't drop in your primary site for some reason, like you have a beautiful ornamental Japanese maple that would be destroyed by a truck trying to pull in, they'll select your secondary site. And be as specific as possible about your drop sites, because once the chips are down, we can't pick them back up. 2, check for low overhead branches and power lines above the drop site. We're trying to make less work for arborists, not more work for electricians. These trucks need at minimum 15 feet of clearance. 3, make sure there are no cars parked in your drop site while you're away at work during the day. Digging your car out from under 15 cubic yards of mulch can put a real damper on your day. 4, answer your phone if you see an unknown number and you're waiting for a chip drop. It's either a timeshare scam or the arborist might be trying to clarify something. 5, paved surfaces are the best drop sites. Some crews won't want to drive into your yard for fear of damaging your property or that their truck might get stuck. And 6, be sure that everyone in your household is aware of the pending chip drop and that a burly arborist will be delivering a massive pile of mulch on some unknown day at some unknown time. Overzealous spouses have been known to confront arborists with the hose turned all the way up. Remember, the reason chip drop is free is because of your flexibility to take a drop at any time. Time is money for arborists. They use chip drop because it's a less expensive option. They need a quick, convenient location to go drop their mulch so that they can make more fast. That's why you can't receive a call ahead of time, and why partial drops don't work, and also why we can't 100% guarantee that you will receive a chip drop. If you're wondering if chip drop is active in your area, just set up your account at getchipdrop.com. You'll be able to see if there have been other drops nearby and how long people have waited. And if you don't see any drops in your neighborhood, please help us out by staying on the list so we can get the service started near you. Finally, there are 2 secrets to help increase your chances of getting a chip drop sooner. One is checking the box that says you're willing to accept a few logs. They make great art projects. And the other is offering to pay the $20 drop fee that the arborist would usually pay. That's still about $400 cheaper than buying this amount of mulch. And that's it. If you have any other questions, please check out our FAQ page on the website. That's getchipdrop.com. Happy mulching.
You know, so I just real quick, I'll just say, you know, I was pitching the benefits of wood chips for making soil, but, you know, also, you know, you put them around your fruit trees, you keep that soil from, like Billy was saying, from running off, from eroding. You're keeping it cool. You're helping with your weed pressure. If weeds do pop up, they're way easier to take out. So yeah, it's just a great thing to have in a little food forest garden if that's what you're after.
Well, thank you to America's Best Farm for sharing that. Get chip drop, man. That's awesome,
dude. One more thing I'll say is those logs too. You know what you can do is you can inoculate them with mushroom spores, right? So you can get some shiitake mushrooms or some oyster mushrooms growing in there. So that's pretty cool too.
Go on.
Well, you want to make sure these logs aren't, you know, more than a couple weeks old, or they'll already be inoculated by other spores. But they're going to bring you fresh logs that were probably just, you know, cut down from a tree somewhere. So, yeah, you can go on. There's different ways to do it, but you can get little wooden plugs that you can just drill into there and seal them in with wax. Or you know, there's another way to do it. I haven't done it before. You make a slurry somehow, and you can go that way. So,
I'm signing up now.
Billy's on it. Legend. Yeah, I tell you, you know, soil, you know, it's not dirt cheap getting good dirt. So the idea of you know, having wood chips that are turning into this over time, you know, that's really cool. And like for us, Kyle, you know, Florida, you know, we got all this sand, right? We got to build our own soil. A lot of places have good soil already, but you know, we don't really know what that's like so much. So.
All right, check this one out.
Growing mushrooms on logs is an extremely popular method for allotment growers, hobby growers, and in some countries, even commercial growers alike. It's brilliant because you are literally growing mushrooms in the same way as what would happen in the natural environment. So there's literally no closer to a natural way than growing using this method. You can be producing mushrooms 2, 3, maybe even 4 times a year for up to 6 or 8 years, depending on how good quality your log is. And the thing I love the most about it is that it makes use of redundant space in the garden. So all those little nooks and crannies that you can't really grow plants in because they're too dark, too damp, these guys will grow in there perfectly. But how do you tell when your log is ready to fruit? I get asked this question all the time, and it can be quite tricky to spot the telltale signs of when your mushrooms are ready to be shocked and fruited, and we're going to show you that today. Growing mushrooms on logs is an extremely popular method for allotment.
Oh man, he did a nice little cliffhanger there, huh?
Just found this oyster log that we inoculated 2 years ago, absolutely loaded with oyster mushrooms. This is Pohu, one of the most delicious and easiest to grow mushrooms. Join me November 4th here at our homestead for our fall mushroom workshop where you get to inoculate a log and take it home. Check it out. And if you're not in our region, check out our online course, Growing Gourmet Mushrooms, so that you can be harvesting these right outside your door. Just found.
I'm here at Winslow Farms, and today we're going to be harvesting some oyster mushrooms off of logs they inoculated last spring. Growing mushrooms is a cheap and easy way to diversify your full-scale vegetable farm or home garden. A little bit of wood, spawn, and some tools can produce pounds of fresh, edible mushrooms throughout spring and fall. Growing mushrooms on logs has a variety of benefits too. They require less maintenance than other growing techniques. You can receive multiple flushes years after first inoculation, and it uses less plastic waste. In addition, once your logs have finished producing, you can use them to help build healthy, multi-year soil in your backyard or forest. Winslow Farms has been growing mushrooms for years using our spawn. To learn more about their farm or how to grow your
Oh,
own
God.
mushrooms on logs, check out our YouTube channel.
I had no idea. No idea.
Isn't that cool?
This is
Kids
the
will love
best.
that.
You kidding me? It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and shiitakes grow really well this way, and you can do that all over the country. And yeah, they just you want certain trees. So oak trees are one that's super common that are great for shiitakes and oyster mushrooms, and they're pretty easy to identify.
Yeah, Billy, have you inoculated a log before?
I've never. Well, we talk about that. I bought this book and I was like, all right, someone in my family needs to take mushrooms. I'm going to take the chickens. I'm going to take some other stuff. Someone needs to do mushrooms. No one in my family took the mushrooms, so we haven't.
You got to do mushrooms.
We haven't inoculated mushrooms yet.
Do you think you could inoculate some?
I'm sure my log could be inoculated.
I mean, after witnessing those YouTube shorts, I feel like you need to cut down a tree, an oak tree. That's best.
I live on 2 acres. I've got full trees laying. I got mushrooms growing on logs. My wife is like, I'm not eating that. Like, we'll pull up the Google and we'll check it. So we'd have to get the spores and know specifically what we're growing. We've got all kinds of mushrooms on our property. They're just growing all over the place. We got deadly ones. We got ones we could eat. We got the little, we've got probably 20 different kinds of mushrooms growing on our property.
Billy, they say you can do something called a bite test. Believe it or not, if you just bite the mushroom and don't swallow it, but that's part of how you can tell if they're good for you or not. And the good ones, they're not going to taste bad. So, and then, the other thing is the ones that are a lot more dangerous a lot of times are the ones that actually kind of look like that toadstool mushroom that have those gills underneath. But the ones who look a lot different, like the oyster mushroom there, or the shiitakes, or the chicken of the woods, these are really unique looking and are much easier to identify. So,
well, unfortunately, I watched that movie about what's his name, Canlis, who went into the woods and then lived in the bus and then ate the mushrooms and then died. So unfortunately, I've watched that movie. So
he died of something else. It wasn't the mushroom.
Are you sure? I thought it was the mushrooms.
I think it was something else. No, it was some little herb or something that looked like another one.
Yeah. So anyway, I would have to order the mushrooms and then grow them specifically on a log. Versus,
yeah, I dig that.
I'm not a forager. It's not happening on mushrooms.
What do they call?
I wish I could be. I'm not quite that far on the Maha thing.
Yeah. You can look up like plugs. That's the way I did it. You can buy these like little wooden plugs, and then I got them for shiitakes, but oyster mushrooms are also super popular. And you can find those setups all over. And then you got to get some wax, right? So you get this is something I didn't know about, but I forget, was it paraffin wax? Is that right? And then you just melt that and seal it up real tight, because this helps. You drill these holes in there and you put these plugs in, and then you want to seal it so other mushroom spores can't get in there. So you want yours to have free reign at it and the best chance to make it happen. This reminds me, we talk about glyphosate, and this stuff's an antibiotic. I've been getting into the yogurt game recently, guys, to, restore the probiotics. So, we try to avoid doses of amoxicillin, doxycycline. We don't want to do antibiotics. We don't want to strip our microbiome. What I've been found out about more recently is, Dr. Davis, it would be great to have him on. I've been inviting him to come do an interview. He wrote the book Super Gut, and he's all about this one microbe, specifically L. reuteri, which has been known about for a long time, but he's been really finding out, wow, it does all this amazing stuff for us, and it's a keystone species, and it gets into the small intestine, which is where you really want the microbes to get back into, and so it's great at helping kind of recolonize and get everything going well again. So I got a little yogurt maker. I've been getting the best milk I can find and having that going. And I felt the difference. I feel like I've been sleeping a lot better. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of like mushrooms a little bit. Just getting all that, getting Getting that
Goat
fun
milk
stuff
yogurt.
going.
You get some. We order through Farm Match, a company called Farm Match, farmmatch.com, and man, the goat milk and the goat yogurt and the goat cottage cheese it's heavenly, man. It's like the best stuff in the entire. It's raw. It's raw. It's so amazing. So yeah.
Yeah, look at this one. Share this tab instead. All right. So if you're interested, here we are. There you got your bundles. What do you want to grow? You got shiitake mushroom kit here. This organic. Here's your whole log kit. $30.
Yeah, all you need is oh look, they even got the drill bit for you. You just need a power drill. Put
You
that
got
drill
the
bit in
power
there.
drill. You got some wax. You got a bunch of these already. You've got the looks like the inoculated plugs, and then the log not included.
Yeah, and log not included exactly. All right, you want to
Best log type, see wood chart below. Okay, let's check it out. Best wood: alder, beech, hawthornbeam, hornbeam, hard maple, oak, sweet gum. Dude, this is great. I'm gonna when I get back to Canada, I'm gonna start really thinking about this and doing this because like this is a long game thing. Like I'm preparing some land for like the long game, and this is something like, yeah, kind of set it and forget it, right, Johnny?
Well, yeah, and right, you want to put it in a cold, dark place. You don't want it to be getting too hot wherever you put them, and you get these going successfully. Now you've got the spores in the air, and other logs on your property can go. So this could be something that you've got these sort of mushrooms just kind of growing naturally in your area for who knows how long. You get it going the right way. So.
Yeah. Oh, there's just a shiitake forest here. Great. You get some of those big shiitakes. Like you got shiitake burgers, got shiitake breakfast. We're on. Let's go.
I read that the shiitake is like the only mushroom that we know of that it was kind of cultivated. The Japanese cultivated it, so they got a cool culture doing all sorts of cool things, and they're the ones who made the shiitake a special mushroom.
Oh, look, we've got someone here from you're lucky YouTube isn't letting me say Fagritiga. I don't know what that means. Might as well troll while the world burns. All right. Let's go. Let's go. The world isn't burning, it's growing. It's still alive. It's beautiful. On the internet, on the tube, things are very, very dark, but we're trying to raise the vibe here because guess what? Next season, mushrooms are going to be growing no matter what.
I asked Grok, given the woke states and religious freedoms going away and vaccine exemptions and forced mandates and transgender agenda and community schools where they're vaccinating kids without parental consent and taxes being raised and workplace issues. What is the best place to live? What state should I move to be close to my family on the East Coast? And they said Florida, and Grok said Florida. And just yesterday, I was just looking at Sarasota as like the place to live in Florida. So
Billy, that's a sign.
What'd you say?
That's a sign. That's a sign. Are you really gonna move? You got a lot of stuff.
Becky's like, Florida, really? Like she's like, everything's on the table at this point. Like Maryland is getting a little too woke at this point. And the taxes are going crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of good land. It's just like I don't know, like the last couple of days, it's been super hot. I mean, it is June. We're approaching. We're 3 days away from the summer solstice, so it's like this is kind of like, peak heat right now. But yeah, the ocean's getting mighty warm too. It's just it's like a hot tub.
Is it really? Like what? Like 72, kind of
72. Dude, no way.
Bro, we got highs of like we got lows of like 85, getting up to like 92 every day.
The water?
Oh, the water. No. The water is about, that's a good guess. 70, I think it gets up to 78.
Right now.
That's the water temperature?
That is the ocean temperature.
That's way different than for me. So I'm on the in the Atlantic, right? So that's
You're
the
on the
thing.
Atlantic.
So listen,
This is Gulf Coast. This is why these like hurricanes like love this water. It
you-
gets in the summer, the water is getting into like the high 90s.
here's the thing, Billy. So something about the Gulf of America. The Gulf of America is a big like hot tub, and it gets super warm, and that's the Gulf Stream that they talk about going all the way up through Europe, the way the currents go, and it keeps like the UK like way warmer than it would be otherwise. So yeah, this is part of that. But yeah,
See, I would
on
just leave in June, July, and August and come back to Maryland, because Maryland now at this point, it's like my electric bill for the business and my home was $2,000 a month for 4 months straight for my home and the business. 2,000, it was like 1,800, 2,100, 2,000, 70 for, because it's freezing. It's like 28 degrees, 22 degrees, and then it goes, March comes and then it's just rain. March, April, May, and it's still raining. We've had like 2.5 months of solid rain, like just rain. And then as soon as it rained over, boom, humid, 90 degrees, sweating. And then you're into like June, July, and August, too hot. And then you're back into winter. It's like nothing's enjoyable anymore. So I'm like, I got to get out of here. Sarasota, here I come. But not in June, July, and August.
no, that's not the time. That's not the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, we've got this place, and I want to leave here like sometimes in the high season too, because it is really nice here. Though it's hot, but it's also really nice when beaches are that warm and like there's good fishing, there's good stuff happening too. But I mean, it is really nice up north at this time. I'm heading up to Canada next month, so. Northspore.com, folks. Northspore.com if you want to get your kits and start inoculating some logs and be growing and be eating your own harvested mushrooms within 6 to 12 months and potentially creating a permanent source of mushrooms on your land that could spread as well. And and then you make some soil too, and then you got some good gardens, so you'll have potentially some nice leafy greens or some vegetables, or some fruit.
Then you can invite your Democratic neighbors over and tell them not to drink the Kool-Aid and eat the mushroom instead.
Yeah,
it's all good.
Yeah. What about water, guys? Like, what kind of water filters do you use? Like, I mean, the water down here, that's a thing. Like right now, like it rained really hard. Like when it rains it fucking pours, and like it like you're talking like you get like 6 inches of rain, just like smash, it hits, and then there's like I got some the water's not great. It's kind of
you want city water or well water?
I'm on city water, but even that is like where is it coming from, dude? Floor is flat as hell, and it's like it's.
I live on 2 acres with a 70-foot well, and I have reverse osmosis under my sink, and that goes into a filter in my refrigerator. So we have like a 5-stage reverse osmosis with like the UV light thing. That's what we drink. And I'm addicted to soda water, so I sparkle water. That's pretty much that's all I drink is soda water, like soda water and coffee or tea. Like 100% of the time.
Great. Yeah, I want to I want to intercept the water right at the city hookup, and try and put some filters. I mean, the problem isn't renting this place, but it's because even the bath, you're the shower and the bath, and also the water that you're using. You're cooking with, you're doing, laundry with. If there's a way to kind of clean that out a little bit, I think that can have a long tail benefit.
Jeff Hayes' film we're promoting there, Toxic Nation, they talked about, having a good RO filter underneath your sink, and they're just a couple $100. So and how important that is to get the glyphosate out of the water and the atrazine and all the other things that we're up against. And you do talk about the shower though. That's a good point you make. When especially if we're taking a hot shower, we're opening up our pores, and a lot of our municipalities still have fluoride in the water, and that fluoride is getting into we can absorb that way. So
well, and then with
get a
little
nice
kids, you're in the bath too, like they're soaking in it, and like my wife, she
You can
uses
get
a
a
lot of
little filter that goes on your little shower thing there for like $15. I've done that and given those as gifts for Christmas. I think that makes a great gift.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
carbon
and it's important you like change those as well. I've also heard that hot water tanks can be pretty fucking nasty as well. Like especially old hot water tanks, like it gets gross inside. And that's why like some of these on demand they're a little more expensive, but I think they're like they insta heat it and it just kind of flows through versus like pooled hot water always bubbling, especially if you're just taking like that nasty city water that's full of gunk and it's cooking in there.
Well said. This is like the Toxic Nation movie there.
Try Boogie Blue Plus. All right, America Best Farm. Love these guys. Try Boogie Blue Plus water filter for outside. Let's check out that. Boogie Blue Plus.
Best meme of the week. Bonnie Blue was a dude. Did you see that?
Oh God, yeah,
that was great. Boogie Blue made me think of that.
All right, look at that. Oh, here, let me share this tab instead. Back here. Here's a Boogie Blue Plus. So, yeah, this is like, I guess this would be like good for RV too. How long these things last for?
Oh, I had one of those. I don't think it was Boogie Blue. It was very similar. It's good for garden hoses when you're trying to do stuff outside because it can clog your different things that you're using outside, whether it's a sprinkler or like particles can come through and it cleans them all out.
Well, and also it cleans it because you're putting all this water onto your garden. So, if the garden's got glyphosate on it, as Johnny was mentioning earlier, just the sheer fact of you're watering your plants is like you're potentially, giving them Roundup, potentially like, what pharmaceuticals that are in the water. And, this looks like a good solution. High capacity. I wonder how long this thing actually lasts for. It's 45,000 gallons. Sounds like a lot.
Yep.
Designed for the organic gardener.
Good times. Thanks, America's Best Farm.
Yeah, you got any other things? Oh, look, they got some videos. 45,000 gallon. The other one's
Hey folks, I
barely
have a
reached
great product for
10,000.
you here. Just unboxed this. It is the Boogie Blue Plus hose water filter. Okay.
Water.
This thing
Water.
allows you to water your plants
Water.
without the chlorine,
What do you
without
think
the
these-
chlorophyll, all the nasties in your regular industrial water. It's going to be taken out by this. Take a look at the details on the product details to see how much this comes out, takes out of your municipal water. So real easy to use. Literally, just unbox this thing.
This is great.
You
He's
take
from
off
Maryland.
the couple of spouts here, and you've got one receptacle end, okay, to go on to your house outlet for your water. You've got a hose outlet here that will wrap onto the hose. You have basically two things you hook up, and you now have water to water your plants without all the chemicals. We've been using it. Last year we used it. This year we just got a new one. Lasts all season. Real excited to use it again. The other thing is you can now drink out of your hose. Have the kids out around, drink out of the hose like the old days. You can because you have a water filter. Highly recommend this product. Give your plants the best water they can.
This is a review of the Boogie Blue
All
Plus.
right.
I purchased this because I was looking for an extended life garden hose for my.
Man, what a world we live in. Look at these reviews, internet.
You guys don't find water funny? I'm from Maryland, so people say it here, so it's just cracked me up. It's probably weird.
I caught that.
I got one last thing. I know why my internet went out. I had to look at it. The router's off. I'm like, why is that router off? It's like, guys, I got this little outlet thing. It's on a timer. I got the Wi-Fi turning off at night now, less EMF. So I think that's something that we should all consider having. You find this on like a 2-pack on Amazon for $10, and yeah, we don't need to be frying ourselves all the time.
I just hit it. Turns it off.
Nice.
Yeah, sometimes I forget, but
Wow. Yeah, it'd be nice to have like a smart circuit breaker. Like really like turn off like the whole house, like boom, you're off.
Exactly. And I loved Homegirl's idea of painting everything in lead paint, keep all the EMF out. Cheney was on it.
Where can we get lead paint?
1970.
I want lead paint.
All right, America's Best Farm. Thanks for hanging out with us. And giving us some
It's
things
been
to
real,
talk
guys.
about. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll be searching for lead paint later. All right. Well, this was really fun, informative. I love make soil, wood chip drop, chipdrop.com. Billy signed up for it. Mahafilms.com. Jeff Hayes' new one, Toxic Nation, Understand. Boogie Blue Plus water filter, available on Amazon. $5 will arrive tomorrow. Feed your water nicely.
And let's be fruitful, y'all.
Let's be fruitful. Look at that.
I'm ready.
Let's grow.
Rock and
All
roll.
right, guys, let's go. Let's grow.
Peace. We'll see you next week.
Farewell, y'all. I'm going to take us out here on that Hannah commercial again. It's a good one. All right. Bye, everybody. Use code HANNAH20 or no, Maha20 on hannahlife.com if you want to pick up some of these super duper stuff. All right. Later, everybody.
Hana, adapting ancient traditions into remedies for modern living.